everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction and thank you for the invitation to be here today. I just want to start off by making a confession. This is my first CLE training, so be nice to me. Today, I'm here to talk about the collateral consequences of the criminal record and some of the tools that are out there to help relieve from the collateral consequences of the criminal record. And for the purposes of this training, we're trying to keep the tools very narrow. So we're going to really be focused on the expungement of discharge charges, the one-time conviction expungement, and certificates of relief. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please let me know. Sometimes I have a tendency to talk fast, so if I start talking too fast, ask me questions to slow me down, okay? So first, I just want to start with the background. As many people in this room know, having a criminal record acts as a huge barrier to a lot of opportunities out there, such as jobs, employment, education. One example that you see comes through when people apply for jobs. They get a question on the application asking them whether they've been convicted of a felony or not. And this causes a deterrent to people to want to apply to jobs, and it also leads to people not getting employment when they self-disclose that they do have a felony record. And this is an issue in North Carolina because about 1 in 5 people in North Carolina have a criminal record. There are at least 2 million people in North Carolina who have a criminal record, and that's out of a population of approximately 10 million. And when I say criminal record, what I'm talking about are criminal offenses that are convictions, charges that are dismissed, charges that were disposed of as not guilty, and charges of people plead to a lesser offense. And I'm also talking about traffic charges. And just as a note, until December 1st, 2019, charges where people were charged when they were under the age of 18, so when they were 16 and 17, do automatically appear on their adult criminal records. And the entities that maintain these records are the courthouse, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, the Department of Public Safety, the Division of Motor Vehicles, and private background check companies. And in some cases, the media even has access to criminal records. So why is this an issue? This issue comes from mass incarceration, which is a real thing and is relatively new. So right now, we pull the numbers on June 15, 2019 to see that there's about 36,000 people currently in our North Carolina jail system. And of course, it has a disparate impact on people of color and males. 90% of the people who are incarcerated right now are males. 52% are African Americans. People on post release it's about 12,000 people on post release right now. It's about 81,000 people on probation. And right here, if you're ever interested, just use around the PowerPoint. If you're interested in looking for the numbers in Mecklenburg County, there's a link to the numbers right there. And so, as I was saying before, mass incarceration is something that is relatively recent. It really didn't start until about the 1970s. Between 1910 and 1970, the prison population hovered around 10,000 people. But between 1970 and the current day, prison population has quadrupled and is about at 40,000 people, which is very consistent with the numbers here. And that's the prison population in North Carolina. That trend is also seen in other states, that the other states are represented by the red lines, where the prison population has been steadily increasing since the 70s. The state jail population has also increased since the 70s. And then if you look at the population of the federal prison since the 70s, that has also increased. And so the reason this is an issue is because people who come in contact with the criminal justice system have to deal with collateral consequences. It's a slowly eroding idea that once individuals complete their sentence, that they can just, if they have paid their debt to society and therefore can just move on with their lives. We know that's not true. We know that people have to deal with collateral consequences, which are just the legal and regulatory sanctions that prohibit people with criminal records from getting employment, occupational licensing, housing. It prevents people from voting, having access to education and opportunity. The collateral consequences are usually unknown to defendants at the time they take the plea and tend to be more severe, further reaching and longer lasting than the direct sentence. Yes.
Just a reminder, the School of Government has CCAT, which is a program where you can actually put in your client's charge and it will spit out the collateral consequences for them.
Yeah, you're ahead of me. I was going to talk about that, but thank you for that. And so collateral consequences can be imposed by statute or by private discrimination. There's about 2,000 laws out there on the federal and state level that prohibit someone from an opportunity based on their criminal record. And then with private discrimination, this comes from the question on the initial employment application about criminal records, or it comes from when private employers and landlords do the background check and decide to disqualify people from housing or employment based on what they find on the background check. And the impact that has collateral consequences has on individuals is that it isolates them from the resources they need to re-enter society, and therefore it contributes to the likelihood that they will commit another criminal offense. In North Carolina, there's about 1,000 laws that disqualify someone from an opportunity. On the federal level, it's about 1,200 laws that disqualify someone from an opportunity. And as we were told before, you can check that out on the School of Government's website, the CCAT tool. You can look based on the particular job that your client is looking for, or the particular charge they've been charged with, to see if they will be disqualified for the opportunity they're seeking. And these are some of the examples of opportunities where someone can be disqualified based on a criminal record. Some of the ones that I want to highlight is that with housing on the federal level, you can be denied housing, Section 8 housing, if you have been convicted of certain drug charges or sexual offenses. You can be disqualified from voting or sitting on a jury if you are still serving an active federal felony sentence or on felony probation. You could be, in North Carolina, you can be disqualified from attending a private school if you have a felony conviction. And on the federal level, you can be denied your government benefits if you have some drug-related charges. And occupational licensing is another place where we should allow disqualification from getting the license that you need to obtain that particular type of employment. And it wasn't until 2013 where the law required independent licensing boards from automatically disqualifying someone based on their criminal record. There's now 8 statutory requirements that the occupational licensing board have to consider before they not someone for an opportunity. However, because those factors are still very vague, so you see a lot of disqualification based on criminal record and occupation. This slide just highlights the statistics that was given in a study from 2010. Other people surveyed, 73% of those companies did background checks on their employees or their job applicants, and of those people surveyed, 93% did background checks on at least some of the people who applied for jobs. And this usually impacts people's decision on whether to hire someone or not. 100% of the employees that were surveyed said that a violent felony would be the determining factor for excluding someone from employment. 98% of people said that a non-violent felony would contribute to their decision to exclude someone from employment. 93 of the participants surveyed said that a violent misdemeanor would be a factor when considering whether to exclude somebody from employment. 73% for non-violent misdemeanors. And we see even arrests that don't lead to convictions, such as dismissed charges, have led to decisions to not hire somebody for at least 31% of the people surveyed. And there is a racial disparity when it comes to the impact of the criminal record. We know that among black individuals and white individuals, having a criminal record makes it less likely that you'll be called back than someone without a criminal record. But even amongst the numbers, what we also see is that a black individual with a criminal record, a felony record to be more specific, is 40% less likely to be called back than a white individual with that type of felony record. And so there are some laws in place to help protect people who have criminal records. One of those that are out there but has not been used that much is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's the Title VII, which prohibits employers from discriminating against individuals based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And although people with criminal records are not considered a protected class, usually this is covered under the race disqualification because people with criminal records are more likely to be people of color. So you can use that argument to prove that there's a disparate impact to the protected class and there's different treatment amongst that particular class. And another federal law that has been used to protect people with criminal records is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And this requires employers to give notice to an individual before they take adverse action or deny someone employment based on their criminal record. The employer is authorized or required to give written notice that they intend to take adverse action based on someone's criminal record, and then give the applicant opportunity to dispute the disqualification. But as I indicated, those federal laws are not really utilized or underutilized. But one of the protections that is out there for individuals with criminal records are expungements. And expungement is just a deletion of criminal record. Once someone gets an expungement, they can honestly say that they can honestly deny that they ever had that charge on their criminal record. And there are a few exceptions to this. For example, if someone is applying for citizenship through the federal immigration process, they have to disclose that charge, even if it was expunged. I've also been told that if someone's applying to the Army, that they have to disclose charges that were expunged. But for the most part, once an expungement is granted, the person can honestly say without being at risk of being charged with perjury that they never had that charge on their record. And there are two big buckets of expungement in North Carolina. There is the one-time conviction, where it's a single incident of someone's record and they have no prior or subsequent convictions, or expungement for dismissed charges, or dismissed or not guilty charges. And someone can get dismissed or not guilty charges expunged as long as they have never been convicted of a felony. And so under those buckets, there's about 11 or 12 different types of expungement statutes out there. The two that we're gonna focus on today are the expungements for the first time nonviolent offense under North Carolina General Statute 15A 145.5, and the dismissal or not guilty expungement under 15A 146. But there are other expungements out there, and I just want to draw attention to. There's the expungement of misdemeanor convictions for people where the charges committed when they were under the age of 18, and that's based on the offense stage. There is an expungement for someone whose conviction is related to gang activity, and that's when that person is under the age of 18. There's an expungement for controlled substance related activity when that person committed the offense when they were under the age of 22. There's a conviction expungement for toxic vapors. I actually don't know what that is. When the person committed when they were under the age of 22. There's a nonviolent felony that someone committed when they were under the age of 18, and then the prostitution offense. And then the dismissed charges, or the charges that did not lead to conviction, there's a straight out dismissed charge under 15A 146. There's the expungement for charges that came about as a result of identity theft or mistaken identity, or misidentification by the officer. There's the pardon innocent charge that can be expunged, and then the juvenile records charge that can be expunged under 32. So recently, in 2017, the expungement law has expanded quite a bit. So the two statutes that we're going to focus on today were both affected by this change. Before 2017, for this discharge, you can only basically get one set of dismissed charges expunged from your record over your whole lifetime. It was charges that happened in a 12-month window. You could only, once you expunge those charges that happened in a 12-month window, you can no longer get another expungement. Well, in 2017, the law changed to eliminate the requirement of that 12-month window of expungable charges, and it also said that even if you had previous dismissal expungements, you can get multiple dismissed charges expunged from the record. It also reduced the waiting period for convictions. Before 2017, you had to wait 15 years to get convictions expunged from your record. And under this law change, 15 years dropped to 5-year waiting period for misdemeanor convictions, and 15 years dropped to a 10-year waiting period for felony convictions. And so this is just put in words what I just said. It's just 2017 195 reduced the waiting period for misdemeanor and nonviolent felony expungement. It also eliminated the prior expungement disqualification for expungement under 15A 146. It eliminated the requirement for a 12-month or same session of court limitations to expungement of dismissed charges. It also streamlined the process of getting an expungement because it requires the petitions to be filed with the clerk's office, and also requires the clerk's office to send the expungements off to all the relevant sections of the Department of Public Safety. It also allows the court to use the expungement of convictions as when they're calculating the prior record level. and it provides the prosecutor access to expunge charges that were expunged after July 1st, 2018. So now, this is the current law for charges that you want to expunge that have been dismissed or where someone has been found not guilty. So basically, a charge that has been dismissed or has been adjudicated as not guilty is eligible for expungement as long as your particular client does not have a felony conviction on their record. So therefore, you can expunge felony charges that were disclosed as dismissed or not guilty, misdemeanor charges that were disclosed as dismissed or not guilty. And that's it. The only thing that disqualifies you is a felony conviction under United States law, under North Carolina law, or under any other state law. There's no waiting period to expunge a dismissed charge or charge adjudicated as not guilty. And there's typically no cost to file a dismissal expungement. The only time where you'll find a charge associated with a dismissed charge expungement is if the charge was dismissed through a deferred prosecution program. And then in that situation, there is a $175 filing fee associated with that type of expungement. But the $175 can be waived if the person is considered to be indigent pursuant to filling out the indigent fee waiver. And then there is the expungement of the first time non-violent conviction, which is under North Carolina General Statute 15A 145.5. You're eligible, or your client will be eligible for this expungement if they have one non-violent felony, and the definition of violent is laid out in the statute. It is Class A50 felonies or Class A1 misdemeanor offenses that have assault as part of the essential element of the crime, such as simple assault or assault on a female. Those convictions can be expunged. An offense that requires the individual to register on the state criminal registry. A charge that includes stalking, any felony drug offense that involves methamphetamine, heroin, or the possession with intent to sell cocaine, any conviction that has been specified as a hate crime, any felony that involves commercial motor vehicle being used in the commission of that crime, any offense for felony breaking or entering, any offense that involves impaired driving, such as a driving while impaired, or any attempt to any one of those charges laid out in A through I. So charges that are eligible for expungement are nonviolent felonies and misdemeanors, where someone has no prior or subsequent conviction. And for the purposes of expungement, all convictions that happen within the same session of court, which is 1 day for district court or 1 week for superior court, are considered one conviction. And so if you have multiple charges that come out of the same session of court, those can all be expunged under 15A 145.5. What would disqualify you is any subsequent or prior misdemeanor or felony convictions, and those are misdemeanor and felony convictions that are not traffic violations. The waiting period for a non-violent misdemeanor expungement is 5 years, and then the waiting period for a nonviolent felony expungement is 10 years. There is an $175 filing fee that is associated with expunging a nonviolent felony or misdemeanor. And these expungements require an affidavit from the petitioner saying that they have no pending charges, that they have waited out the full waiting period, and that they have complied with all the terms of their sentence. It also requires 2 affidavits from people, from character references who are not related to the petitioner and not related to each other, saying that the individual seeking the expungement is of good character. One of the issues that is present with a conviction expungement is when the waiting period starts. The statute says at the conviction date or at the end of the sentence, and so there's some ambiguity on whether the clock starts at the date of conviction or if the clock starts at the end of probation. It's been argued successfully in both ends, where the date of the waiting period starts at the conviction date. It's also been argued successfully that it starts at probation date.
So if you have someone who has, let's say you're someone with a misdemeanor conviction that's eligible under this, and it's been 5 years since the conviction date, or it's been 4 years since probation ended, would you recommend going ahead and filing and just hoping for the best?
So, I think it's one of those things where you have to know the judges and what they're willing to buy. We in Wake County, we filed based on conviction date under certain similar circumstances, and we have like a bench memo that we sent explaining why it should be conviction date and not probation date, and we were denied. But in Durham County, we did the same thing, and the judge bought the argument.
So it's just up to whether the judge agrees.
Yeah, it's just about whether someone agrees with your argument. I know right now, like the legislature is talking about maybe clarifying that language, but we're scared that they're going to clarify it in the worst way and say that it's from probation date.
Let's say your client has 1 felony conviction, but it's expungible and a lot of dismissals. Can you first get that felony expunged, then get the dismissals expunged?
Yeah, so since the law changed under 146, where no prior expungement will disqualify you from another expungement, I would say go for that. I don't think anyone has tried that yet since the law has changed, but I think that's something that a lot of advocates have said that you can do now. Get the felony expunged first and then get the dismissal charges expunged.
I think as a practical matter, you can just file them all together.
Yes, and you can do stuff. I mean, so these are just summaries of all the expungements out there. And so the obstacles that people have for filing these petitions on their own is that it's just incredibly hard to obtain an accurate criminal record. It can be incredibly expensive, and then it's incredibly difficult to interpret what's on your criminal record and then be able to apply what's on your criminal record to the current laws, expungement laws out there. And then, even if you find a person who is filing an expungement on their own, who are able to obtain an accurate criminal background check, able to interpret the expungement laws and determine their own eligibility, what we see is that people have extreme difficulty properly filling out the expungement forms to submit them to the right place. So that's where lawyers come in. So just the basic steps of reading a criminal record. I'm gonna read the slide to you, even though I'm sure all of y'all know how to read a criminal record. It was just scratch communication. So the first thing you do is think about what is the charge and how was it disposed. If it was disposed as a guilty charge, you look at the individual's age. You compare the birth date that the person gives you to the offense date that is on the criminal record check. If they're under the age of 18, then you start thinking about some of the expungements that are eligible for people who committed the offense when they were under the age of 18, such as the misdemeanor expungement for charges committed under 18, the gang-related offenses, the felony expungements that are out there for people under the age of 18. And if they were under the age of 22, you start thinking about whether this is a controlled substance related conviction or a intoxicating vapor related conviction. And if the offense was committed after they were the age of 18 and after they were the age of 22, then you start thinking about some of the other type of conviction expunctions that are out there, such as the nonviolent misdemeanor conviction and expungement and the nonviolent felony conviction expungement. So then the next step, you have to think about the elements of the charge. Is this statutorily considered a violent charge, or is it statutorily considered a nonviolent charge? And is this conviction related to a controlled substance? All of those determine what type of expungement the individual may or may not be eligible for. Then last, you have to look at how long it's been since the individual committed or was convicted of the charge. And so you look at the conviction date and compare it to the current date to see if the required waiting periods have already expired. And then last, you look at the criminal records to see if they have any more convictions that happened before your target conviction or after your target conviction. And then for a dismiss charge, if you're just trying to determine eligibility for that, the only thing that you need to look at the criminal record for is a felony conviction. After you consider the criminal record and determine the eligibility, what you'll do next is you'll fill out the relevant petition forms. And these forms can be found on the administration of the court's website. And the necessary information that is required for these forms are the file number, the offense date, the offense description, the date of arrest, the disposition, the date of disposition, and the arresting agency. You might need additional forms which these aren't on the AOC. Well, the first petition affidavit is something that you will have to type up because there's not a form on the AOC website. Character reference affidavits that are required for conviction expungement are not on the AOC website. It's something that you will have to draft. And then the indigent fee waiver forms are on the AOC website. They are just the petition to sue and the affidavit of indigency. So the way you fill out the form is in the top corner, you'll put the county, and then you'll put the case number in the top. Under that box, you'll put the petitioner's name and their address. You'll put some identifying information such as their social security number, their driver's license number, their date of birth, their race, their gender. Over to the side, if they're being represented by an attorney, that's where you'll put that information about your contact information. Then under that box, you put the arresting agency. It's typically our practice to put the county where the charge happened and the city, if there is a city. If the person was arrested by the city police department, we'll put the city and the county just in case. Then under that box, we would put information about the offense, where you'll put the case number, then the date of the offense. You'll put the offense description, so what they were charged with. You'll put the, I believe the first date is the arrest date, and then the second date is the offense date. Then you'll put the final disposition, so whether it was dismissed or a guilty charge, and then you put the disposition date in the far box. And then at the bottom, you'll just indicate whether this is a dismissed charge that went through a deferred prosecution agreement, because if so, the $175 should be assessed. And then at the bottom is where either the petitioner signs or the petitioner's attorney signs the form.
So two questions. One, if in this clinic, people are helping clients file pro se. So just wanted to say that they're not gonna sign, the attorneys are not gonna sign anything. And then two, is what do you think is the hardest part of filling out this form? And what might not be like easily identifiable? Like, is the arresting agency easily identifiable, or other things that you might want to point out that are more complicated?
Thank you for that question. So usually how we do it is when people fill out petition pro se is in the box where the attorney information is required up here. We just have them write pro se. And then here, another way that the clerk's office will identify that the person is filing pro se is they'll put their name down here, and then they'll sign, and then they'll indicate that it's a petitioner filing on his or her own behalf. One of the things that is most difficult to find is the arresting agencies. Unfortunately, on the record checks, it would just say city police department. And this could be within a county like Mecklenburg, like Durham, or Orange County, where there are plenty different city police departments. And so at that point, usually what we put in the city police department is where the town seat is, the city where the town seat is. One of the other information that someone might not have readily available, but is not this positive, is that the petitioner may or may not know their social security number, and may or may not know their driver's license number, and the form has a space in there where you can put that information. And what I've been told is that the driver's license number is definitely not this positive of the form, and you might be able to leave the section blank for the social security number. Another place that you can leave blank is the age at which the offense occurred, because what you'll see, especially with the law change and with the dismissal expungement, that people have many different dismissed charges that occurred at different points in their life. And so the age of the offense box, which is right here, might require different numbers, and you can just leave that blank. We've never had an expungement petition sent back because we left that blank. Yes.
I might be wrong, but I remember certain types of expungements with drug convictions require, or maybe don't require, drug treatment along with all the other requirements. Can you speak to that, and whether that's actually a requirement, whether judges really do want to see that, even if it's a court conviction?
So what you're talking about, so the question was if some drug-related offenses that you're trying to expunge require drug treatment. And so what you're talking about is, so the short answer is yes. So that when you are trying to expunge a conviction under the under 22 drug-related expungement, that does require either a certificate that you finished drug treatment court, or an affidavit requesting the judge to kind of waive that requirement. And so in the past, we've been successful in getting the waiver of that requirement, especially for petitioners who received that charge a long time ago, like in the 80s, they received a drug-related conviction, and now they're seeking expungement of that conviction. It would be unreasonable to ask them to go through a drug treatment program to get that expunged since it's been 20 plus years since they received that conviction.
At the clinic, I thought we were putting people in a position to be able to file it right there with the judge being there and the lady being there. What do we do about the affidavits and pictures? Do we be asking them to bring them with them?
So what we're probably gonna do is fill up everything and then give them those two forms to get filled out. And then they just bring that back and then they're fine.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we were thinking about sort of how to handle that situation because it requires.
One second. Can you guys hear what they're saying? Okay.
Okay, so Stephanie asked for the clinic that we are all co-sponsoring, how we're gonna deal with petitioners who need affidavits. And it's something that we were trying to figure out because I think we all decided that asking people to bring character witnesses with them was gonna just like be too crazy. So what we're planning on doing is basically going through all the paperwork, having everything ready to go, and then explaining to them that they have like 1 week to get these affidavits written up, their character references. Troy in the clerk's office has agreed to basically he's waiting 1 week, 1 business week, and I know that's a little bit tough, but we want there to be a time limit so that not everyone else gets, backed up because of somebody who's not bringing their affidavits back, and we also feel that giving them the petition means we're never gonna see the petition again, so that's the way we've decided to go. So if someone needs the affidavits, they won't be filing it that date, but hopefully it will be filed within a week of that date. That's the goal. Does that make sense?
One more quick question too. Let's say something's not filled out properly, something happens or it gets rejected. Can you try again? Or you blocked from trying again?
No, especially not with dismissal judgments. You can try again. With conviction expungement, it shouldn't block you, but the thing that you have to worry about is the $175 filing fee. The person might have to pay that again.
Have you seen things kicked back for like small discrepancies? Like how strict?
I've seen, and again, I'm practicing Durham and weight, but I've seen things kicked back because the arresting agencies were wrong. And honestly, putting the correct arresting agency on the form is really important because the clerk's office is not gonna send out the petition to, the clerk's office is only gonna do what's on the form. So if there's an arresting agency that needs to be on the form, that needs to get notice of the expungement, if it's not on the form, they won't get it. And so then that charge will still be out there floating around. So we had to have judges, especially in Durham County, who kind of know better, send back expungement because the arresting agency was either had the wrong address or it was missing an arresting agency that needed to be on there. Yes.
Can I just make, for everybody who don't know me, I'm Darwin Rice. I'm the Family Court Administrator. I was over the Self-Service Center. A couple of things I wanted to bring up so you clear up a few things. In the process of the paperwork, so next Saturday, we fill out the paperwork, and it ends up with Troy Harvard, which we talked about. He's the criminal clerk. He takes it to the judge. The judges are the judges in the county. So we have a really good working relationship with the judge here in Mecklenburg County. That's the judge who approves whether it goes on up to Raleigh or not. Now, what we have here in Mecklenburg County is we have a checklist that the judge says, these are all the things that need to be on that form before I approve it, based on the form and what's needed. So part of the process on that Saturday is that checklist where you can go down and you can say, well, I make sure based on 145.5, I have everything I need to have on there before I take them over to the, generally where the district attorney sits is where they kind of collect the information. So the denial of it in Wake County is by a judge in Wake County. So it's not, so when we send it up to Raleigh, we're sending it up just to get a state record, official state record, and official federal record. That's all we send it up there to do. Then when they finish doing that, it comes back to Mecklenburg County. Then the judge looks at those two official records and the petition again, signs it for a second time, and then it is approved. So all the approvals take place here in Mecklenburg County by the judge here in Mecklenburg County. And so we have a checklist to help out with that process that will say, these are the items that based on whatever form you're filling out, here's the things you need to make sure are on there. So we kind of streamlined that because we've been doing this for a number of years. We have those pieces in place to help smooth that process out.
Yeah, I also want to clarify, when I say kickback, I don't mean deny. Like, I've never had anything denied because of clerical error. I just have had judges send it back, or a clerk's office send it back and say, hey, before we submit it to the AOC or the SBI, can you correct this on the petition? So thank you for that clarification.
That's what our records are like.
Okay.
Yes.
Whatever that is.
Okay. And so, I've been told,
So this is the clerk's office. It's next and these are the yeah.
so I've been told that when you get the file for the clinic, that you'll have records in there in the file that look like this. We call them Cypress records for short. And I just want to draw your attention to some of the areas in the Cypress record that might be important, well, that are important for helping fill out a petition. On the top of the Cypress record, you'll see the county. This one is the Cypress record for Durham County. That information will go on the petition, right under, on the expungement petition, right under where it says the state of North Carolina. You'll put the county. On the Cypress record, right beside the county is the case number. That information will be put in the box for the case number. For the client information, the client will probably have that information on the intake form. You can put that directly into the expungement petition. Information about their social security number and driver's license number, the client will supply for you. On the Cypress record, you can also find the case description. On this example, the case description is simple assault, and where you see that is on the top, under the information about the jurisdiction, right where it says district court. If you drop down where you see South C, the person was charged with sexual assault. The disposition of the charge was dismissal without leave, which we abbreviate as VD, which is voluntary dismissal, and that will go on the form under where it says E on the petition. That is the disposition description. On the Cypress record, you would find the offense date under the case information. That's where we mark as B. And then you'll find the service date where we mark as B on the petition.
So the arresting agency on the Cypress record?
It is on the Cypress record. It's not on this sample, but there is an arresting agency. And so what it usually says is it will be here, where it says information about witnesses. It will say the officer's name, and then it will say complainant, and then the agency would be city city police department or county sheriff's department. So from that information, you have to glean which city police department it is. We usually put the town seat, so for Durham, we will put the city of Durham information on there.
Can I ask one more question of this form? So if somebody has a dismissed charge from Gaston County or even Durham County, and they're doing a clinic here in Mecklenburg County, can that judge sign off on that expungement, or does it have to be a judge from the county where the charge arose?
So it would have to be a judge from the county where the charge arose. That was not in front of the petition. At the bottom, to request the record check from SBI and sign it on the back, granted or denied. For certain expungements, such as dismissal expungements that went through a deferred prosecution process, or for expungements where you're trying to expunge a conviction, there is an $175 filing fee that is associated with the expungement. So at times that fee can be waived, and that's when the particular petitioner has been deemed to be indigent. So the forms that we submit to the clerk's office or the judge to help them decide whether to waive that $175 filing fee are the petitions to sue and then the affidavit of indigency. So just recently, they have updated the petition to sue to put a box in there for where you can indicate that you are seeking to file as an indigent petitioner on a petition to expunge. And so if you had a situation where you wanted to file to have the fee waived, you would check that box where it says petition to file expungement petition, and then you have some options that would help make it easier for the judge to determine whether this person is indigent. You would either indicate that the person is on supplemental nutritional assistance programs such as food stamps, or you indicate that the petitioner is on temporary assistance to needy families, or TANF, or that the petitioner is on supplemental security income, SSI. And if none of those apply, and if the person is not being represented by a legal agency such as legal aid that does its own agency screening, then you would check the last box that says that although the petitioner is not a recipient of government assistance and is not being represented by a legal services organization, that they are still financially unable to pay that $175 filing fee. And so this form has to be signed in front of the notary. So the process of expungement we kind of went through. We were told how it happened. The petition will be submitted to the clerk's office. It sounds like you all have an arrangement with the clerk's office. The clerk will get the judge to sign all the petitions, asking the State Bureau of Investigation to conduct the background checks to see if the individual has any disqualifying charges on their record. Upon receipt of the expungement, the FBI will conduct the background check and then send the petition to the ALC. At the time the ALC gets the petition, the ALC will run the person's name to see if they have received any previous expungements. And then at that time, the ALC will return the expungement petition back to the courthouse with a copy of that background check from the State Bureau of Investigation and a report on whether the petitioner has already received an expungement that the ALC provides. Once the expungement is returned to the courthouse, the judge will review the petition and determine whether through a hearing or maybe in his or her chambers determine whether the person is eligible for the expungement. If the order for expungement is granted, then the clerk's office will delete the criminal record and then send the expungement petition off to all the agencies that are listed on the front of the expungement petition for those agencies to destroy any records they have of that criminal charge. So that was expungement. And
Sorry, can I ask a question before we move on? I don't remember the specifics, but I feel like I've been told that there are certain types of charges or convictions, or maybe there's a time frame or something where DAs will have access to them, even if like the rest of the world doesn't. Can you talk a little bit about that?
so any charge that someone has had expunged since July the 1st, 2017, will be accessible by the DA's office. The only exception to that rule are charges where they ended up as being not guilty. So not guilty charges will not be accessed by the DA's office, but expunged dismissed charges and expunged convictions will be accessible by the district attorney's office.
That's it. So not police department.
Yeah, not the police department. And that's just for purposes of sentencing levels.
Something that happens sometimes is someone's charged with a felony, the DA offers a plea to a misdemeanor, and so in the record check, it shows they were charged with a felony, the conviction is a misdemeanor. I've asked this question before, can you get that felony expunged?
Yes, and the reason is because when, as you know, the logic is that when someone pleads to lesser, it's almost like the DA's office is dismissing that felony charge and then having them plead to a misdemeanor. That's the logic. And so under that logic, you can expunge the arresting charge using the 146 dismissal expungement petition. And in the indication where you're indicating what the disposition of that charge is, what you'll put in that box is arresting offense only. And most clerk's offices understand that to mean that you want the charge to be changed from felony breaking and entering to misdemeanor breaking and entering, so that the person who was petitioning can lawfully say that they were never charged with a felony.
Where should we put arresting offense only?
So on the expungement petition, and this is really small, but right here, in the disposition, it says BD for this example. But you could put either, I've seen people put GL, and some clerk offices know that that means you're trying to get the charge off and not the conviction. And I've seen other people write really small, not type, arresting offense only. And that indicates to the clerk's office you're trying to get the felony charge off, but not the conviction.
What is jail for?
Guilty to lesser. So expungement law in North Carolina.
Are there any statutory changes that are gonna happen this year that we should know about in terms of counseling, clients to wait on December 1st, you're gonna now be eligible for this?
So the Second Chance Act is, so short answer, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Right now, the Second Chance Act, which is Senate Bill 562, is currently being negotiated in the General Assembly. It's already passed the Senate unanimously, but we're still negotiating it in the House. And so what that would do is it will allow for multiple guilty charges to be expunged. Because right now you can only get conviction expunged if you don't have subsequent or prior convictions on your record. This will allow lower level felonies and lower level misdemeanors when you have more than one to be expunged off the record. It also will take away that felon disqualification for dismissed charges. Because under the current law, you can't get dismissed charges expunged or not guilty charges expunged if you have a felony conviction. The law that's being negotiated now will remove that disqualification to allow people, even if you have a felony conviction, to get dismissed charges expunged.
That's Senate Bill what?
562. 562.
562. It's gonna be passed. I know it's hard.
So we have, it does have a lot of bipartisan support. Like I said, it passed the Senate unanimously, 44-0 vote. We have some people pushing back against it, and these people have a lot of political power. But hopefully it'll get passed in some form. And that's actually where Daniel is now. Just to put him on blast. He's at the General Assembly negotiating the terms of that bill. So expulsion law, as you see, is very narrow. It only benefits people who don't have felony convictions or who have that one-time felony conviction or one-time misdemeanor conviction. So a large number of individuals are not eligible for expungement. But another source of relief from a criminal record, especially a criminal conviction, I must say, is a certificate of relief. And this is one of those sources of relief that has recently changed to allow more people to be eligible for it. Before 2019, you were only eligible for certificates of relief for no more than 2 misdemeanor or felony convictions that happened in one session of court. But since 2018, the law has changed to allow we anticipate about 85% of people with criminal convictions to be eligible for it. So under the current, a certificate of relief is not an expungement, so it does not remove criminal convictions from a person's record. But what it is an order from the court saying that this person is not a risk to society, although they have criminal convictions on their record. So it's kind of like a letter of recommendation from the court. That's how we like to explain it to people who are eligible for it. The reason it's beneficial is because it's a judge saying that this person is not an unreasonable risk to society. And so what it does, it protects employers and landlords from not from being sued, but it gives them a complete defense if they're sued for negligent hiring or negligent renting. Because it shows that they took due care by relying on affirmation from the judge that this person is not an unreasonable risk to anyone, even though they have a criminal record. So for a certificate of relief, one is eligible for that for any number of misdemeanor convictions. So it's an unlimited number of misdemeanor convictions will be eligible for certificate of relief. And they're eligible for certificate of relief as long as they have no more than 3 H or I felony convictions, which is a large number of individuals. The only people who are disqualified for getting a certificate of relief are individuals who have an A through G felony or individuals who have 4 or more felony convictions. The waiting period for a certificate of relief is 1 year from the completion of their criminal sentence. And that has been pretty much defined as the end of probation. So 1 year after the petitioner completes probation, they can petition for a certificate of relief. So not only does it make more people eligible, but it also has a shorter waiting period. So even if the individual is eligible for expungement or will be eligible for expungement, but they're still waiting out that 5-year waiting period or that 10-year waiting period, they may be eligible for a certificate of relief. And it will bridge the gap into they're eligible for expungement and allow them to have the certificate while they're going out applying for jobs or housing. Other criteria for a certificate of relief is that the petitioner can have no pending charges, and that there has to be some showing, some finding of fact that the individual is not a risk to society. So it's great when you're doing these petitions to have some kind of evidence showing that the person is seeking employment or is currently pursuing educational certificates or degrees. This petition, there's a one-time charge of $50 for the petition, but that is waivable similarly to how the expungement penalty is waivable. And there's no affidavit of good character required by statute for this source of relief. However, it may be helpful to submit affidavits just to kind of support that finding that the judge has to make that the person is not a risk to society. And the DA's office the petition requires, the statute requires the DA's office to receive at least 3 weeks notice before you can have a hearing on the certificate of relief. Again, that's one of the Pendleton County kind of questions. In Wake County, there's not, but.
Sorry, I was asking if there's always a hearing before.
Okay, so the question was, is there always a hearing for the certificate of relief petitions? And the answer is it just depends on the jurisdiction. In the overwhelming number of jurisdictions, there is requirement for a hearing, just because that's where you will present evidence that the client is not a risk to society. But then there are in the minority, some jurisdictions who base the finding of whether the person is a risk to society solely based on what they found on the criminal record.
Is this a county by county thing? Do you have to file?
Yeah, so this is another, similar to expungement, for certificate of relief, you have to file a certificate of relief in the county where the charge is housed. So, and we're still trying to figure out what that looks like, because this is a relatively new change. It didn't change to 2018. But right now, it looks like if the person has charges, convictions in different counties, that you have to file a petition in each county. Yes.
I hate to be a pessimist, but is there any evidence that these certificates change people's minds?
So the question is whether the certificate of relief changed the hearts and minds of employers and landlords. There's been very limited evidence that it does. Ultimately, the issue with certificate of relief is that a lot of employers and landlords don't know about them. And then the form, which looks like this, it looks like a court document. And so when a lot of landlords are presented with this document, they don't know what it is. They don't know all the benefits that is given them. Like, they don't understand that just by looking at the court document that they're protected from negligent hiring or negligent leasing. So it has worked, but it usually only works when a lawyer or whoever petitions includes a letter explaining to the landlord or the employer the benefits of the certificate.
I've seen it work once, like years ago, when it was somebody who worked for a company and they wanted to promote her, but they couldn't because of the position. So this allowed them to do that. So.
Do you know if any of the housing authorities accept those?
I want to be a negative Nancy. I've heard mixed reviews, but a lot of the time, certificate of reliefs aren't enough to get over the regulations that are placed on housing authorities. But there's been like campaigns, like grassroots campaigns to kind of lift up certificate of relief, do education around them, and kind of get employers and landlords on board with accepting certificate of relief. And one of the places that you see this coupled a lot is when people are trying to get it through ban the box efforts, which in ban the box is just the campaign to get the question about criminal records removed from applications. So removed from applications for employment, removed from applications for housing. You'll see a lot of the times in those policy changes, the landlords and the housing authorities will commit to at least consider certificate release when they're doing their decision-making policy.
Is it one, do you get one certificate of relief?
Under the statute, if you get subsequent convictions after that first certificate of relief is granted, then that's grounds for revocation of that certificate of relief. So under that theory, it is likely that you can only get one.
What if it's like two different counties?
Yeah, so in both counties, so it's one of those things where you probably have to file simultaneously, but then if you get another charge after that or try to file after that, it will be denied. And this is just the certificate of relief petition. Like I said, one of the issues with this petition is that they go out to landlords and employers and like educational facilities, and they look very court documents, court orders. But similar to the Expunction petition, you would include the county where you're found, just some basic information about the petitioner, like the petitioner's name and address. The current petition allows you to fill in information for 3 charges, but it might be the case where you have more charges than 3, and then you would just file a affidavit to show an attachment to show the additional charges. On this petition, you have to indicate whether the person is engaged in or is seeking gainful employment. You also have to allege that the petitioner has completed their entire sentence and that they have no criminal charges. And then on the back of the petition, when the petition is being granted, the judge has to make about 10 findings of fact in order for it to be granted. Anyone have questions?
We need a lot of questions. We have 45 minutes.
Yeah, we need a lot of questions. Okay, so, seeing no questions.
So, what, certificate of relief, what does it do? So it shields employees from liabilities for like negligent hiring, shields landlords for negligent leasing.
Yeah. And so, employers have said that that's one of their biggest concerns, is that they fear if something goes wrong with that person that they took a chance on, that they'll be exposed to liability or negligent hiring, or landlords say if something goes wrong in this apartment complex, when I took a chance on this person with criminal record, that I'll be sued for negligent renting. And if you look at the cases around that, those are usually very high dollar cases. And so what this does is a complete protection against that. So yes, they may be sued. You can't stop anyone from suing anyone. But if the landlord or the employer shows the judge that they relied on the certificate of relief, that is an absolute offense to being found liable. And so that has encouraged a lot of landlords and a lot of employers to take that chance on people. Another place that's beneficial is in the occupational licensing realm. In occupational licensing, there's a lot of mandatory disqualifications where you can't get this specific licensing for specific occupations if you have specific charges. Well, a certificate of relief kind of changes those mandatory disqualifications to discretionary disqualifications, where, because the licensing board can still exclude you, but part of most licensing board requirements is to consider evidence of rehabilitation. And so certificate of release act as the evidence.
So would that be a situation where somebody wants to get a license and they've got this prior record?
Yes.
And normally it would be disqualifying of it.
So, for example, in North Carolina, you can't get a barber license if you have felony drug-related convictions. So, if you're seeking that licensure for a barber to be a barber, you may be able to present a certificate of relief to help you get over that hurdle.
Is this certificate of relief actually a document that the person carries around and provides?
So what we tell our clients who get certificate of release is to print out a copy of their certificate of release. We also include a letter explaining what it is, and to attach that to every application that they submit. So every job application and every application for housing, to submit that.
You have another one. But sorry.
I know you only covered 2 types of expunctions, but my understanding is that there's some that once you have an expunction, you're barred from getting other types. Can you go into a little bit about that on sort of if you're eligible for multiple expunctions, is there a certain order you should be doing them in?
So one thing that's easy to remember that is that conviction expungements are key. So once you get that conviction expungement, it will bar you from getting any type of other expungement ever in your life. So that's why you have to be careful about the order that you submit expungement, because a conviction expungement will prevent you from getting dismissed charges expunged in the future. Sorry, that's not right. A conviction expungement will prevent you from getting other convictions expunged in the future. A dismissal expungement will not prevent you from getting conviction expunged or other dismissal expunged, but a conviction expungement will prevent you from getting other convictions. So, since we have some time, we're gonna just do some exercises, and I'm gonna give people some time to just read over this and then figure out what this person is eligible for at anything, and then we'll walk through it. So Sally Swift is a paralegal. She also has a bachelor's degree in business. She left her job in 2002 and has been unable to find consistent employment because of her criminal record. In 1983, she dropped her boyfriend off at a location to play cards, and she sat outside the location while he was inside. He brought up the location. Ms. Swift didn't know about anything, and her boyfriend did not tell her about the robbery. When she figured out what happened, she called Crime Stoppers, and she ended up being charged along with her boyfriend. Eventually, all her charges were dismissed. So, let me know when y'all ready to now go to the next slide. Is everyone on the same page? So this is what Ms. Swift's current criminal record looks like. She has a dismissed charge from she has 2 dismissed charges from 1983. One is felony possession of stolen goods. The other one is felony breaking and entering. Then she has a dismissed charge from 1984 for misdemeanor worthless check. And then she has a dismissed charge from 2007 for simple assault.
There's no waiting period for dismissal, right?
Right. So there's no waiting period for dismissed charges.
So the day it's dismissed, you can start the process.
Right. The day that it's dismissed, you can go and file for it. Anyone want to take a stab at what she's eligible for, if anything?
Is she eligible under 15A 146 to get all of them expunged? Because they're all dismissed?
Okay, so the answer is that under 15A 146, yes, you're correct. She's eligible to get them all expunged, and that's because she has not been found guilty of any felony convictions. So how we would expunge this? We'll do this one of two ways. It just depends on what you see is best. You can either file these all in Superior Court of the county where the charges took place, or you can do two different expunging petitions, and you can file one in Superior Court for the first two charges and one in District Court for the last two charges. Any questions about that one?
So prior to the law changing in 2017, she would have only been eligible to get dismissals within a 12-month period.
Right.
Expunged, so either the ones from 83, the one from 84, or the one from 07.
Right, so the question was that before the law changed in 2017, we have to consider the fact that she would be only eligible to get one set of dismissed charges expunged that happened within a 12-month period. So if this was under the old law, she would only be able to get either, she would have to make a decision of whether she wanted to expunge the 2007 charge, which is more recent, or whether she would want to go for the ones that happened in the 80s, which, for this example, happened within a 12-month block. One of the things that you would have to consider under the old law, and still under the current law, is that after 7 years, under federal law, dismissed charges are not supposed to be reported by background check companies to employers and landlords. So if this was before the law changed, we would probably advise her to go for the more recent charge. Well, they're still older than 7 years, but we would tell her to probably go for the more recent charge because none of these charges should be disclosed under federal law, but it's more likely that the more recent charge, which is assault, will have the most impact.
And to follow up on Carson's question, if all of those charges derive from different counties, you said that we have to get permission from the judge in each county?
So yes, if, let's say the first three happened in Mecklenburg County, and then the last 2007 simple assault happened in Rowan County, you would complete a petition in Mecklenburg County for the first three and file it here in Mecklenburg County. And then for the 2007 charge, you would fill out a petition for Rowan County and file that one in Rowan County. Yes.
So hypothetically, they were all out of Mecklenburg, and you would have to file one with the Superior District Clerk and then one with the district?
I've seen it happen both ways. So you can do that. You can file the first two charges in Superior Court because those derive out of Superior Court, and then the last two charges, put it on a petition and file it in District Court. I've also seen people be able to just file all four charges on a petition and send it to the Superior Court, where Superior Court can handle all four of the charges.
What would you recommend doing when you have these multi-county situations? Not just filling out a form and dropping it in the box. Because somebody's going to say, you're already doing one. It would seem like. I mean, would you want to include a cover letter or something? So is there a block on the form, in other words, to say I'm doing a multi-county expulsion?
Before the law changed, when you can only do within a 12-month period,
right.
It was one dismissal expungement over your lifetime, you would include like a cover letter letting the other counties know I'm simultaneously filing this in County X, County Y. But now the law changed and you can expunge as many dismissed charges. As long as you don't have that felony conviction, I wouldn't do that. I would just stop. I would just let them stop.
If it's going to work, the easier is always better.
Yeah. And I haven't got any pushback or anything from different counties I've been in saying, it looks like you've already found, I haven't got that.
Here's another question. So I've done, in the course of my practice, numerous expunctions. Before this 12-month window that we're talking about, you're only allowed to do one transaction. And we didn't have AOC forms either. You would say, these all happened as a result of the same transaction or something like that in the petition. But my question is, what about now? Say I did expunctions for someone previous and they call me on the phone and say, well, I heard now I can get all my expunctions done. You told me I can only get one. So could you, right, the law changed, but can that person who expunged some of their record earlier now go ahead and get it all expunged? It seems unfair that because they did this earlier, that now they're barred from getting it all expunged.
And I would say go ahead with the other expungements, as long as that person doesn't have a felony conviction on their record,
sure.
just go ahead and submit another expungement.
Include everything.
Because, under the law change, no previous expungements will disqualify someone from getting more dismissed charges expunged. And we had to do that a lot with our programs that we've had, where we had people who got an expungement under the 12-month window, and then we had to go back and file more expungements because they had dismissed charges outside that 12-month period that was still on their criminal record.
Thanks.
Yes.
In a scenario where somebody's eligible for a non-violent felony to be expunged, and they also then have several dismissals, can you expunge under the non-violent felony option, and then do you have to wait then to do the arrest and dismiss so that the existing felony doesn't preclude you from?
You could do that, or you can just file them simultaneously. You'll put of course you'll attach like a letter or something indicating that your felony petition, the dismissal petition, the special expungement petition, and the petition for the non-violent felony at the same time. That way, one won't keep the other out. Yes.
I got two questions. First one, for some of the offenses, sort of, for instance, misdemeanor under 18 conviction, can you get a charge expunged under that 15A 145, then another conviction expunged? Okay.
No, that's why you have to be careful with that, because that conviction expungement will preclude you from getting another conviction.
Because this is no subsequent misdemeanor or felony convictions within the 2-year waiting period. But that really means more than the 2-year.
So are you asking for whether one expungement will preclude another expungement, or whether other convictions outside of the 2-year waiting period?
Other convictions outside.
So yeah, if you have convictions outside that waiting period, so let's say when you were under 18, you got a conviction for simple assault, and then 4 years later, you got a conviction for larceny. What we have done. Okay, and so what typically you wouldn't be eligible for anything if you're trying to go the regular route, 15A 145.5. But what you can do is get that simple assault charge expunged under the under 18 misdemeanor expungement, because the larceny charge has occurred outside of the 2-year window.
But then you can't get the larceny.
But then you couldn't go back and get it. You could do a certificate of relief for that larceny, but you couldn't get that larceny.
My second question is, I heard a rumor that in the new legislation, there may be automatic expungements. Is that no longer the case?
So that's also through 562. That is something that's being negotiated. We hope that we'll see some automatic expungements or automation of expungements coming down the pipe in 2020. We hope the law would pass this year, but we'll see more progress in that in 2020. Again, that's one of those things we don't know yet. Yes.
So each county has its own process, right, for expunction, in the sense of whether they require a hearing or not. Otherwise, the forms are the same.
Right.
right? So that's the only thing that differs county by county.
There's other things that differ. So even though you could file the expungement with the clerk initially, it might be the case where the attorney will have to go get the judge's signature first. It doesn't seem like that's what happens here in Mecklenburg, but in other counties, the attorney will have to go get the judge's signature, send it out to the SBI before they file it with the clerk. And then, of course, some counties require a hearing, some counties don't require a hearing. And so those are really the only differences. Whether who has to get the judge's signature and whether you have to show up for a hearing or not. It used to be the case where different counties require you to send it off to the SBI, but the law changed in 2017 to require the clerk to send it off to the SBI.
So if we have a client who is filing pro se, but is filing in a different county, let's say, Union County, or, will we have a list of what that county requires and then what we'll do? I wasn't sure what exactly we're gonna do on that. We won't, okay.
So what she's asking is, if they have such different petitions per county, do we have any information to provide that litigant that says this is what they require in a county? And we won't have that, because then we have to get it for all 100 counties. So we just give them all the paperwork, make sure it's all correct, based on what our judge requires here in Mecklenburg County. It should still be pretty safe across the state, and then, tell them where that courthouse is. But as far as the process, some charge different amounts for other fees as part of this process, a longer wait time. There's all kind of different things that different counties do. We have worked to streamline the process here. This really kind of stays in the room for the cases that we do here, especially the bulk cases that we do after the Expunction clinic. It would take about 4 to 6 months, when on average it's about 8 to 12 months for the average expunction to go through on its own. So we have a little ability to kind of push cases through the process and get them back a little faster for the clients to go through the clinic.
I can tell you Union does require you to get the judge to sign off on it, so I don't know how they treat pro se with that though.
And then some counties will let you mail in the petition. Some require you to actually show up to the courthouse and file it. And so it's different county to county. I believe legal aid keeps a list that I might ask one of my colleagues who works at legal aid. I believe they keep a list of different counties, what different counties do for around expungement. And that's a place to start. Yeah, so that's a place to start, and I can see if I get my hands on this.
With the records, I'm assuming they have to get a record to file the expunction. Is that correct? I know for the clinic, the petitioner, I know that with the clinic, the records have already been run. But say our client gets it, their charge dismissed. We have their record in discovery because it was a felony case that got dismissed. There's no prior felony on there. Can they use that record that they got in discovery? Or do they need to go to the clerk and get a separate record printed?
I've never seen a clerk require someone to buy a record before they file an expungement. Usually what I see happen is that people just use the terminal in the clerk's office and write down the records and make their petition based on that. So I've never seen a clerk require someone to also submit their own record. Now, like I said, that's one of those things that's different from county to county, but from the county that I've experienced, I haven't seen it. Okay, so I think we got time to do what else. Jane is a mother of 2. She is currently unemployed and looking for work herself. Her potential employer told her that her criminal record, especially the larceny charge, is what prevents her from being hired. These are the following charges that appear on her criminal record. In 2007, she had a larceny charge dismissed without leave. In 1987, she had an embezzlement charge dismissed without leave. In 1988, she had a worthless check charge that was dismissed without leave. In 2007, she had a simple assault charge that she pled guilty to, and she pled guilty to that on September the 3rd, 2007. And then in 1993, she pled guilty to a worthless check misdemeanor on January the 3rd, 1993. So what, if anything, is she eligible for under expunction law?
How old is she?
She is,
She's doing it for
this is present day. So she's over the age of 18.
Was she over the age of 18 when she got that?
She was over the age of 18 when all of this happened. Yes.
So she's eligible to get all her dismissals done.
Why?
Why
Why do you say that?
Why? Because there's no felony conviction.
Okay.
And the simple assault, even if she didn't have the worthless check, the simple assault was self-saved because it's an underlying assault charge.
And because she has more than one conviction, she can't get the worthless check charge done. But under the current law, is she eligible for any help from East Law School?
She's not, under current law, no, because it didn't happen in the same session report or the same defense day. But she could probably, if she did a motion for appropriate relief for the simple assault, she might be able to get that worthless check off if the motion for appropriate relief.
Yeah, a motion for appropriate relief is an option. Anybody else see any relief she can get from the
certificate of relief?
Okay.
Is that what you're thinking?
Something about that.
Question.
Yeah.
So the only conviction she has is the bottom two, right?
Right.
So she would be able to get the worthless check expunged because it's been more than 5 years, right? And then the dismissals. No?
Anybody have anything saying that?
If she has more than one conviction, she's not eligible for an expunction.
Oh,
It has to be at the same
so
offense
for
day.
Yeah, these happen on different sections of court. So, because one happened in 2007 and the other one happened in 1983. So they're kind of blocking each other from expungement eligibility. And so she wouldn't be able to get these expunged for what we heard before. The simple assault is an offense within the essential element of assault. And then she couldn't get the worthless check off because she also has a simple assault on the record, and they're kind of holding each other down. But she can get a certificate of relief for these last two convictions, or these two convictions.
Senate Bill 562 would address that.
Right.
It wouldn't.
Well, it was still not addressed as simple assault. Yeah, it's
Like
still.
the worthless check.
Yeah, the worthless check.
And another option would be to, do a motion for appropriate relief to get one of these older charges. Like probably, I would go after. Well, no, I would go after like maybe a simple assault. Get that over to dismiss, so fund both. But for the purposes of this exercise, we would do a certificate of release for the last two charges and then expunge the first three under 146.
I would expunge the first three and wait for December 1st. I think.
Any questions? Yes.
Is it too late for petitioners to sign up for this Saturday clinic? And if so, how far in advance do they have to notify that they want to come to their records?
So it is too late to sign up for the one this next weekend. Other than that, what we will do is once we meet after the COE is over, try to decide what the next one is going to be for the next quarter. Remember Carson said we're going to try to do one a quarter. So picking that date as early as possible and then looking at when we go ahead and start with the flyers and put that information out there. But then we generally cap it by a number. So once we reach that number, the QR code that we use on there for them to sign up, we can cancel it so then it goes away so they don't have access to it.
And I think the Strawn Center for Legal Advocacy has some other expunction clinic dates in addition to this June one. Is anyone here from?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Natalia Rosea, and I'm the attorney that runs our criminal records expunction program at Charlotte Center for Legal Advocacy. which we do mostly through the use of volunteers. So we do, like this year we're doing 6 clinics a year, and they'll run from like 30 to 120 clients at each one. And clients can call our main number to register, which is 704-376-1600, and 3213 is the extension for our expunction program. We also get really backed up. There's obviously a huge demand for this service, but we offer that as well. And we're hoping that if the law changes, we can do a big push to try to get as many people as possible next year. 3213. And if you also go to our website, we have a page about our program, and we also have our flyer for our expunction clinics.
I'm going to add one thing to what Darwin said. So when we find out when our next clinic is, we will open up enrollment. That's the way we kind of do it, is open up enrollment, and then once it hits 150, that's when it's capped, and then it's until the next clinic is set up, we open up enrollment again. So we can send an email to everyone that's here today, just let them know when that enrollment opens. And just for those who are coming to the clinic, the way it works is you'll get a record to screen, but before you meet with a client. But fortunately, that record has already been pre-screened by somebody in our office, so there'll be a cover sheet that has all of their convictions and then also recommendations from somebody in our office. So you should have a little bit of a guide to what you're looking for, and then it's really just to kind of check to see if your opinion differs from what that pre-screen showed. So you're not going to be sitting down with a record and having to start from scratch and fill everything in. It should already be, at least not necessarily, I wouldn't say done for you, but at least it's a lot of it's already been done, so that you don't have to do it all. Yeah.
For the people that are at the clinic and get that checklist that the judge uses that Darwin mentioned?
Yes. So I guess it would be, they'll screen the record, and then once they've determined if this person is eligible for expungement, they'll take out whatever form they need to, and then that'll be where this checklist comes into play, make sure that form is filled out correctly.
So one last one, and then I think we're done. So Ms. Cornwall, she works at an elderly care facility. She's been there for several years. She never got in trouble at work, and she always received positive performance reviews. 2 months ago, so in 2019, the facility was brought by a regional hospital, and the company fired all its employees who had criminal records. Ms. Cornwall has a simple assault charge from 2007, and so she was fired. She fully acknowledged her conviction when she applied for the job, and she was told that she can be rehired if she gets the only conviction on her record expunged. So does anyone have any advice for Ms. Cornwall? She was over, well actually, in one circumstance, she was under the age of 18, and then I want to hear the analysis that she was over the age of 18. So I want to hear what.
Okay, if she was under 18, then she can get it expunged. And if she was over 18, then she cannot get it expunged.
Why not?
Because it's an assault. So if you're under 18, the fact that it's an assault is not disqualifying, but if you're over 18, under 145.5, that is disqualifying.
Did she get any relief for? Yes.
I mean, I think she'd have a civil rights claim.
Well, yeah.
She probably has a strong civil rights claim, but right now, what Ms. Cornwall wants her job back. She doesn't worry about, taking them down later. But, so you were saying about the other.
Get a certificate of relief, but that's not really more sense. But they could be, satisfied
Any other? Or you could do one of those, yeah.
The certificate of relief doesn't actually expunge the charge.
Right, so under, what she's eligible for right now is a certificate of relief. But like what everyone has pointed to is her job wants her to get an expunction, which she's not eligible for under, as her resume currently stands. One option for, one more high level option is to do a motion for appropriate relief. To have the court either reopen this and change it to a charge that doesn't include assault, or just reopen it and dismiss it. And then at that point, the new disposition would be eligible for expungement because it will be dismissed. Hopefully you'll get a motion for appropriate relief to get the charge dismissed, and then at that point that dismissed charge would be eligible for expungement. But as her record stands right now, if she was over the age of 18 when this happened, she would not be able to get that expungement. Any more questions?
I would like Darwin just telling everyone in the room about the self-help center, because some people in the room may not be aware of what they offer to clients that don't have attorneys.
Okay. So real quick about the self-serve center, just a couple of things. It was founded in 1999, so this is actually its 20th year in existence. It is still the only self-help center or self-serve center in the state of North Carolina. It is primarily funded by Mecklenburg County, but most of the funding that we receive, the position does come from the state of North Carolina that fills the position. We cover all areas of law. We cover landlord and tenant, we cover domestic matters, custody visitation, child support, we cover domestic violence, and we also cover expunction. So, have no fear if someone, that is dealing with this misses a clinic. They can always come down to the self-serve center and start the process there. We have the same books, the 2019 books that Daniel Bowles has put together. We have those. We have all the forms in a packet, all put together with instructions as far as what that litigant must do within the courthouse, the process for him to go through. And we also have the ability to contact Troy down in the criminal clerk's office where he'll make sure that he receives the documents that they have and push it on up through the system. So on top of that, if they don't catch either one from Charlotte Center of Legal Advocacy or catch our clinic, they can do it on their own if there's some gaps in time. And they will have some minor assistance, but they will at least know what the process is from Mecklenburg County. Once again, we don't necessarily know the process for other 99 counties and how they operate, and some put up some serious barriers to this process. Some do require a certified copy of the criminal record. Now, why would you need that? Why would a regular one versus a certified? Just that the certified costs more money. So if it costs you $25 to get a certified record, and you got to choose between that and catching a bus, the record, stays the way it is until you have enough money. So that's why we pushed it. The clerk in Mecklenburg County decided through any of these projects, she will waive the fee so that there is no fee for those indigent individuals that are filling out their form. So just make sure, if you see her, at least pat on her back for that. Because other things you might not like so much about what she's changing. But that is really a good thing because there was no need for that process. The judges agreed with Mecklenburg County. There was no need for that process, and they accept a record that they can get for free of charge.
And it's on the third floor in the courthouse to the right off the elevator to the stairs.
Room 3350 is where the self-serve center is. It's open from 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So they have a good part of their day where they can get down there and get that. And any other issue, most of the other legal issues they have, they can get those handled as well.
Well, that's all I have for you. Again, my name is Laura Holland, and that's my email address. And the person you probably want to contact more than myself is Daniel Bowles. That's his address and his phone number. Our organization, we're starting to get away from direct services and focus on the policy advocacy changes. So if you want to know what policy advocacy directs that we are going after, we have our policy is up on our website, and that's North Carolina Safety Advance.
Bring another one.
We'll get this PowerPoint sent to them with a link. If you're not registered this signed in, if you want the PowerPoint and any other documents, I already said, please put your email address on the sign sheet. If you came in late, please fill out a card and credit form. Thank you.
Feel more ready. But we probably don't, make us go through it.